Hello FTC Alberta, and welcome to your robot inspection how-to, so to speak. I'm Mitch Way. I'm one of your first senior mentors. I'm also the mentor for Team 7277, 14717, 15259, and peripherally associated with a few other robots here. But we're going to go through how to go through a robot inspection using Team 14717 here. We've got Vivian, we've got Arsh, who are going to go through their actual robot inspection here as if this was the real event. You can see that I'm on a second screen over here. I'm actually sitting across the way from them, but you'll often be doing this through a Google Meet or a Zoom platform to make sure that you've done the robot inspection. So we're going to simulate that as best we can. Right off the bat, I'm going to make sure that my people who are being inspected here have a few tools for us to actually do this. Their robot is obviously sitting in front of them. We obviously have a camera that is going to give us a good clear view of the robot, any small pieces on it, anything that could go wrong. You'll also notice in the background they actually have the robot inspection checklist. They've already gone through and they know what they're talking about. They also have their team scoring element on the table as well. And lastly, they have some way of measuring the overall specifications of the robot. Tape measure in this case, but if any of you have a scoring box, that would be more than effective as well. So, welcome Team 14717 to your robot inspection. I'm Mitch, and we're going to go through the inspection. Before we start, do you have any questions, anything that you're not sure about in the inspection, or can we get started?
Can we just use the box?
Can we use the scoring box, the sizing box? We're going to check the sizing box, we're going to check the tape measure, because both of those might be relevant to teams, all right? With that being said, I'm going to go through the inspection checklist. The first piece is the robot is presented at inspection with all mechanisms, including components, configurations, and decorations that will be used during the competition. Is this the case?
We need to duct tape more stuff on it.
We need to duct tape more stuff on it, he says. At the point of the inspection, you should be looking at your robot pretty much as it is going into the competition. All right, we're going to test the robot with all of its different configurations, and in this case, this robot only has one configuration, clearly, and we're going to make sure that it fits within the sizing tool. Vivian, can you just open up the tape measure there and show me the long edge of the robot, that it is less than 18 inches across? Okay, Arsh, can you turn the robot around about 45 degrees there, so we can see that on the camera? Okay, show me that we have less than 18. Now you guys might have a camera here when you're going through inspection that doesn't quite have the resolution to actually show this, and you may need to move the camera closer to the measuring tape itself. Okay, so pull it out beyond the wheel a little bit there. An X-Drive has a bit of a weird setup, and I can see that that robot is very close to, but just less than 18 inches. Can you guys show me a height measurement as well, just to show that it's under 18 inches?
Oh, yeah.
All right, it is just barely under 18 inches. I can see that clearly on the webcam, and life is good from there. All right, so now we're going to the size inspection. There is a warning label if servo motors move during robot initialization. Do you have servo motors on your robot?
No.
Now, some of the things in this checklist in the inspection might be a piece where they aren't actually on the robot. For example, this robot does not have servos on it, which means a lot of the pieces that talk about servo motors we don't have to go through. We can actually skip over some of those. And this is going to happen in some inspections. Now, if you do have a sizing box, which we do in the room here, Harvey, can you grab the sizing box over there and just toss it over the robot?
Just send it over.
So, no. Let's not throw the plywood one here.
Throw it.
All right. Some teams have sizing boxes, or perhaps you have the Andy Mark sizing tool that you can use to show the robot inspector. That's all good. There's nothing wrong with that, and you can test that during your robot inspection. Do you guys just want to show how to use the sizing tool here in case you do have a box? Might be a two-person job in this case.
No, I got this.
All right.
You take the box, and you just put it over the robot.
And you make sure it doesn't.
You make sure it
As an inspector, what I'm looking for here is I'm looking that the robot doesn't produce any undue stress on the sides of the box. So Harsh here is to pick up the box and lift it up. His robot should not come with the box, which it does not, and we're good. We can roll on from there. Now, the next section here is just the general robot rules. And I'm going to get Arsh to actually spin his robot around on the table. I recommend not rolling the wheels because you can cause damage to your control hub, to just show all of the elements of the robot and make sure that they are securely attached, that they're not going to damage the field. Let's go through the checklist. The robot doesn't contain any components that could damage the playing field or other robots. In this case, I'm looking at this thinking that for the most part this isn't bad, but he's playing around with a wire that could hang out and could get snagged on something. Okay?
Oh, wait, this
is that camera actually securely attached? No, the camera is taped on.
There is no camera anymore. Move on.
Highly recommend, guys, that when you're going through your actual inspection, that any pieces are securely fastened to your robot, all right? It's nice to think that you're going to duct tape pieces onto your robot, but it's not best practice. In some cases, we can let you play with those things on there, but you got some time, make sure you do it properly and bolt it down correctly. The robot does not contain materials that are hazardous. I'm looking at this robot. I'm looking for basic components. I'm looking for the standard battery control hub. Nothing on this robot looks
I
particularly
don't think we
dangerous.
got any radioactive materials either.
The next thing we have is that there's no risk of entanglement, and we've obviously already addressed one of those pieces. I'm looking at some of the wire management on this robot, thinking to myself that this is good. I don't think anything's going to entangle, but they could definitely do better. And some of your robot inspectors will make a comment on this piece saying that the wire management, if we look at the middle of this robot, definitely could be improved. We could tie things off to different bars, or we could make it so that they're not as dangly or bird's nesty, as we often say on these things. All right, there are no sharp edges or corners on this robot. This is a piece where your robot inspector may have you just feel parts of your robot or show particular pieces. On this robot, the pieces I would be concerned about are right on the front of the robot where we see those acrylic pieces. And I'm going to ask you guys, can you just run your hand along the front of those acrylic pieces? Are there sharp edges or have they been rounded off?
I'm pretty sure they're rounded off.
And I can't see that on the camera, but I can ask that of the team. So you may have a point where you have to show that to an inspector. You may need to zoom in with your camera. All right. We have no animal-based liquid or gel materials on this robot. Is this correct, team?
We have a duck here.
Where's the duck? All right, we appear to have a duck sticker. That is not animal-based, though. That is purely vinyl-based, and we're good to go on that one. Okay, there's no materials on this robot that would cause a delay of game if released. Does not appear to be. We've removed the camera that could fall off, and that could absolutely cause a problem. Basically, we're looking for things that use compressed air or liquid, which are not allowed on FTC robots. There are no elements that electrically ground the robot to the frame to the playing field. In this case, I'm going to ask that if your electrical system has any exposed wires or any custom connections. Does your robot have any custom connections on it?
I mean, besides the split,
it looks like it does, actually. So in this case, can I ask you guys to spin that around and show the connection, and I'll just get you to answer what happened with that one.
This one?
From my piece, I could see 2 pieces of blue on that. What happened with that, with your electrical connection?
Stuff happened, and we fixed it.
Okay, so we had broken wires on this part of the robot, and you guys actually fused those together.
Yeah, same as here.
We're going to look to see that there's no closed gas devices, hydraulic devices, vacuum-based mechanisms, which yes are illegal this year, on the robot. Okay, are there any of those things?
No.
Fantastic. The team number is visible from at least 2 sides and meets requirements. Requirements are that the numbers are 2.5 inches tall on this particular robot. Can you show me this side of the robot? Can I clearly see that it's 14717? From this angle, it's a little bit obstructed by that bar, but if I'm standing and looking at this on a field, I will accept this, absolutely. Also, I want to note that in this orientation, I can also see that the power button is very clearly marked there on the side of the robot. Spin around the robot and just show us the other side. Do we have team numbers clearly marked on the other side? We do, actually, in multiple places in this case. Alliance markers in this case, we are preparing for a remote event. So the alliance markers aren't actually that important because there's no red and blue side of the field. But if you're doing a traditional event, absolutely make sure you have those markers. Energy used by the robot shall come only from proof sources. There's only the one battery on this robot. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. The robot is not capable of launching its own components intentionally, I will add. Does this robot launch its own components intentionally?
Not intentionally.
Not intentionally. That's the answer I'm looking for as a robot inspector. Piece falls off, that's on you. But if you're actually using a grappling hook, that's on you. Okay, that's another problem that we can actually address here. So the main power switch is installed properly. All components on the robot are from allowable raw materials and commercial off-the-shelf products. You guys don't have any mechanisms that are pre-built on this robot, like a gripper that we bought as a kit, or any pieces that were prefabricated for you. Is this correct?
No.
We
have the Tetrix channels and stuff.
So Tetrix channels, all of the pre-built kits, Tetrix, Sudica, Rev, whatever, these are all legal as commercial off-the-shelf parts. They are not pre-built kits. You assembled the individual components.
Yeah.
They came one by one, and they are available to all teams, which is fine. If you have a pre-built gripper kit, let's say, and there's a few versions of those out there, that a company has pre-designed and built that has more than 1 degree of freedom, those actually aren't allowed in FTC. On to electrical. The main power switch is installed properly, labeled, readily accessible, and visible to competition personnel. And the switches, you're using a Rev switch in this case by what I can see. Is that correct? It's all accessible?
Yeah.
Looks to be from my vantage point right here. All batteries are securely attached to the robot in a location where they'll not make direct contact with the robots or on the playing field. Okay.
Extra security.
In this case, I actually have a battery that uses the Tetrix clips. I can see this is acceptable, and you guys have added a little bit of tape on top of it to prevent it from bouncing out if you do happen to go over the barrier, which is fantastic. Exactly one robot main battery pack is on the robot and is of an approved type. That is a Tetrix battery pack. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Absolutely, love it. Where present, fuses must not be replaced with fuses of higher value. Have you replaced the fuse on this robot ever?
Nope.
Fuse pack, can you put it, the fuse package there, Arsh?
Yes.
Okay, the fuse package is right there. Occasionally we have had robots melt down fuses and you just need to replace them with the identical fuse to the one that you did before. Many teams will never have dealt with that, and that's all good. Okay. Allowed electronic devices are powered by power ports on the Rev expansion hub or Rev control hub. You don't have any electrical connections except for those two devices. Is this correct?
Yeah. They're only connected to the hubs.
There are no Spark Mini motor controllers on this robot or servo power modules. Is this correct?
Yeah, we don't have servos.
Again, with some of these pieces on the checklist, if you guys are using these particular parts, just make sure that they match the rules in the rulebook. Allowed sensors. Do you have any sensors on this robot as of right now?
Nope.
Okay, if you do have sensors, they can only receive power from the control hub or the expansion hub. Light sources are not focused or directed in any way except the Rev Robotics 2-meter distance sensors. Okay, light sources are powered by only allowable methods. Are there any light sources on this robot that we should know about?
The encoders, I guess, but...
Okay, well, encoders wouldn't count as a light source in this case. They would count as a sensor. And if we're talking about light sources, if you do put LEDs on your robot, this is totally allowed. This is all good. But they just can't be focused in any particular direction. You can't shine them in your opponent's eyes, is what this rule is actually saying. The video recording devices, if used, are powered by internal battery and their wireless communication is turned off. We don't have an external video source or camera on this other than the webcam that you might be integrating later now that you took it off your robot.
Yeah.
Correct? Fantastic.
Yeah.
The smartphone robot controller Android device is powered by its internal battery or the built-in charging feature of the Rev expansion hub. We don't have a phone on this robot, do we? Only on our control station?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, there's exactly one robot controller smartphone. Obviously, we've determined that this is not the
Just
case.
one.
So that's the one robot controller smartphone. The only allowed motor and servo controllers are Rev expansion hub, control hub, servo power block, and Spark Mini motor controllers and Vex motor controllers. We've already determined that we're only using the expansion and control hub, and so these pieces are all good. Again, if you have those pieces on your robot, please check the particular guide. Okay, there are no more than 8 DC motors on this robot. Is this correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and there are no more than 12 servo motors on this, and they are compatible with the expansion and control hub. Is this correct?
Yeah, we don't have
Don't have any servos, so that one's easy. Okay, we only use allowed sensors that are connected to the servo and control hub. The power and motor control wires have not been modified in any way, and if they have, they still follow the convention of red and black power wires.
Yeah, they're still red and black.
Fantastic. And if you haven't modified your electronics teams in any piece of what you've done for building your robot, you don't really need to worry about this. The pre-built wires that pop in are all FTC legal according to how they're put together. Okay, there are, here we go, if electronics are grounded to the robot frame, you're only allowed to use the Rev Robotics resistive grounding strap. You guys haven't grounded this in any way,
No.
correct? Fantastic. Okay, and all electronic devices can be modified to make them more usable, including replacing ends, things like that. You guys have obviously repaired a piece. Okay, they may not be modified internally in any way, so only wires can be modified. Okay, last couple things here. Your robot doesn't damage the playing field when it drives. Is this correct?
Yeah.
Seen a lot of Omni wheels here. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Lastly, we're going to look at the team scoring element because these do have to be inspected as part of your team. Can you guys show me your team scoring element?
This
Fantastic. So we've got a 3D printed scoring element here. Excuse me. It follows the normal material rules. In this case, it's made out of 3D printing filament, so life is good. Maximum size for the team scoring element is 4 inches by 4 inches by 8 inches. Can you guys give me a quick measure on there?
Yeah.
Now, I want to point out that at this point we found a couple things in this robot, and you guys are going to find that this one actually is, turn it around so the camera can see it, this one actually was designed and it is actually a little larger than it is legally allowed to be. In this case, we're actually going to ask as an inspector that you actually can't use this element. You're going to find that this one, and I know this because I've been working in this lab, is actually 5 inches by 5 inches by a few inches tall, or some odd tall. If you have an illegal element like this, the inspectors are going to ask that you don't use it during that week's competition. or if you have it on your robot, that you fix it before you compete, which is really the point of these inspections at the end of the day. So guys, overall, well done on the robot. I appreciate you taking off that camera and the piece that could cause entanglement. Obviously, you can't use your scoring element until you've modified the size to be correct.
Yeah.
And with all of that being said and done, good job on the robot. Good luck competing this week. Do you have any questions?
No.
Fantastic. Now, my team doesn't know this, but this is the point you should thank your inspector. Your inspector will thank you for the interaction here, and we're going to wish you good luck and have some fun.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys.
Appreciate it.
Good luck roboting this week with the competition, and make sure that you've got all those things, that you've read the rule book, mind the details, and that you have a great time running your robot in the competition. Cheers.